It was a festival dedicated to peace. Around 3,500 people dancing and partying all night in the desert. And Danielle Sassi Peretz was one of those people.
7 of us from my family decided to go to the Nova Festival. I was gonna bring my son, Raphael. We ended up leaving him, thank God. And everyone just welcomed us in. Strangers, they walked up to my dad. That was just my dad. He was like a magnet to everyone. There was good, like almost too good to be true energy.
But when the sun came up on October 7th, the dancing would end and the nightmare would begin.
And then I look up and I tell my dad, I'm like, wow, look, they're fireworks. My dad turned around, and then my husband and my dad both look at me and they're pale. I understood that they weren't fireworks.
Danielle, her husband, and her father fled in their car. They then took cover from Hamas in a roadside bomb shelter.
So we're all standing like sardines, and then I hear my dad calling all the men in the shelter to come to the front. You hear the shootings from outside. They threw in 2 grenades, and my dad jumped on one. And then they came in and they just shot everyone. They shot me in my leg. My husband started taking more bodies on top of me so that even if they throw more grenades or anything else, like a shield. I begged him to go to my dad. He made it to my dad. He shook his head to me. And then it was like a waiting game.
How many grenades did they throw into that shelter?
9. And I'm the only one in the middle, alive. Everyone around me, on top of me, below me, in front and back of me is dead. There's dead bodies on top of me. I held his hand for 7 hours.
Whose hand?
Today I know his name is Lutan. I didn't know him there.
So you were holding a dead man's hand for 7 hours?
Yeah. He saved my life. Everyone says I'm like my dad, so I try as much as I can to be loud and to be happy. I promised Raphael that if he saved us, that I would continue to be me, so on good days,
Danielle and her husband made it back to see their baby, but so many were not as lucky. Hamas said it had been planning the attack for years. First, they fired a barrage of rockets, then thousands of Hamas terrorists entered the country, some using hang gliders, others plowing across the border in pickup trucks or by foot. Allahu Akbar! They attacked dozens of communities near the border, shooting indiscriminately, brutally kidnapping civilians, setting homes on fire, and burning entire families alive. Everywhere you look here, you see homes where people have been killed or kidnapped, and across Israel's south, so many of these communities stand frozen in October 7th. An estimated 1,200 Israelis were murdered on October 7th. It was the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. And Hamas kidnapped roughly 250 people, taking them into Gaza. About 100 remain in captivity. Bring them home! Bring them home! The pain, frustration, and chants of bring them home echoing nearly 6,000 miles away to New York City.
The last year for Jewish people in New York and across the United States and across the world has been scary.
These are actual people, actual families hurting, aching, and there's a way to put an end to this.
Demand that your leaders do everything in their power to bring our loved ones home.
Yael Alexander's son, Idan, an American citizen, has been held hostage for a year now.
Idan, he's full of life, Idan. Like, I'm looking at this house and like the parties he was hosting here with all his friends and game nights downstairs at the basement. He loves restaurants, he's a foodie. We have 2 other kids. We have Mika, she's 18, and Roy, turned 13. They adore their big brother.
After high school, Idan decided to move to Israel and join the IDF.
He felt very passionate about it.
He wants to protect the country that he loves so much. After it, he will come back and do the college. That was the plan.
But that plan got brutally interrupted on October 7th.
He called me before 7 a.m. I never heard Idan like this. Like, he was shocked. He told me, "You will not believe the things that I'm seeing, Mom."
At the time, Idan was at his military post along the Gaza border.
I'm hearing all the bombing, and I'm like, Idan, please be safe, protect yourself. I love you. This was the last phone call from him. None of the texts that I sent went through.
They haven't heard from their son since, and the only updates they can hold on to come from released hostages.
We heard from people that came back mid-November that they saw Idan in the tunnels on October 7. He helped young woman like to be calm a little bit and to tell her, listen, you all civilians, they will let you free fast. It was everything for us, you know, because not knowing nothing about your son, nothing, and suddenly people saw him, people touched him, people gave him water.
The Alexanders say they've been in constant communication with the Biden administration, spending many days in meetings advocating for their son's release.
We feel like the hostages, it's really not the first priority for the Israeli government, for this government.
It's humanitarian, period. We also want the ceasefire. We want to get the Palestinian relief from the war. And I want my son back home. And all the 100 hostages, they're still in Gaza. It's not humane. The whole family together.
For the Alexanders, hope looks a little different a year later, but it hasn't faded.
We have to have a hope.
Yeah, hope is mandatory. I mean, you can have hope.
You cannot lose hope.
It was just so hot.
Well, it's difficult. Hope is mandatory for Aviva Siegel. She was kidnapped from Kfar Aza on October 7th and spent 51 agonizing days in captivity.
You're just broken up into pieces and trying to just to survive.
She was released in a hostage deal last November, but she says part of her is still in those tunnels in Gaza. Her husband, Keith.
I mean, when you think about Keith still being in, likely, a tunnel.
I'm finished. I'm just finished. I'm finished. It's just the worst thing to handle. I'm lucky that I got out. I'm lucky, but I'm the unluckiest person in Earth because Keith is there.
Here in Hostage Square, once a bustling center in Tel Aviv, now a somber homage to those still held captive. Aviva still thinks about the people she was with.
Keith and them are just lying on a filthy, dirty mattress and thinking, when is the next time they're going to be raped or touched or tortured or starved or thirsty? Because it happens. It happened all the time.
You have children, you have grandchildren, 5 of them. Are you able to enjoy any of that, or is every day for you basically reliving October 7th?
I'm reliving October 7th all the time. It's with me. I'm still in Gaza, but I have promised myself that I'm going to be a grandmother to my grandchildren. They've got a life to live. I don't want them to remember me sitting on the couch and crying all the time. I keep myself strong as I can, because I don't want them to break apart.
We'll be right back.